For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, we are live and amplified. So let's get ready to podcast.
Fire it up.
Welcome, everybody, to another live and amplified livecast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we are back at it again with another amazing podcast. Today, we have very special guests. We have Stereo Joule. How's it going today, y'all?
Awesome. Thank you, Tom.
Absolutely. Really excited to sit down and chat. First, I do want to thank you for working this out very last minute. I had an opening that I didn't realize I had, and I was like, oh, who can I ask? And I kind of went through the list, and I was like, oh, they've got music that came out in July. Let's bring them on. And luckily, I reached out to you on Instagram, and we were able to make it work pretty seamlessly, you know, given less than 24 hours notice, I get. So first off, I do want to thank you. For everybody that's just kind of getting to meet you for the first time and getting introduced, kind of take this opportunity to introduce yourselves and tell a little bit about who you are and what you do in Stereo Joule.
All right. I'm Chris. I'm the lead singer, co-songwriter with Eddie. I sing, play keys, play the tambourine, sing on the bullhorn, and that's sort of my role in the band.
Yeah, and I'm Eddie. I play guitar, write the music, and do backing vocals, and just have a lot of fun with this with Stereo Joule. We actually have two other members that are not here today, but we have a bass player and a drummer also.
Lucha and Josie.
Awesome. And so, what's this will kind of be an individual question for each of you. What originally got you into music?
Why don't you go first?
Well,
so cool.
I come from a musical background. I actually my dad played guitar. My sister played guitar. I grew up was born in California, and was just surrounded by a lot of music all the time. I actually my sister inspired me to play guitar when I was about, I don't know, maybe 15 or 14. She gave me like three different types of music, and I remember it was at some point I think it might have been like Billy Joel, Motley Crue, and Journey, like three completely different bands to listen to. I was like, I was like, oh wow, this is so cool. And then she played guitar, and I also have an uncle that's also he passed away recently, but he was a renowned music conductor, and amazing person to talk to about music. So there was music always playing at home, and I picked up the guitar, and I have not let go of the guitar. I mean, I play every day, I love playing guitar. And like the other day, for example, I came home from work, and I was just I'm always trying to write music, and being that Chris is my partner, we're always together, so we're always bouncing ideas. So I think I got home like at 4 or 5, and I think I went to bed like at midnight, and it's just because I was just playing and experimenting with sounds, with some new gear, some new ideas that we're working on. But like I said, music has always been a very big part of my life. So that's about it. So and all types of music. But like I said, my main instrument is the guitar.
Awesome. And then Chris.
So it really wasn't the same for me. Music was just my own self-discovery. I didn't grow up with a whole lot of music at home other than maybe listening to what was running on the radio. And it was, just picking up instruments along the way. The first thing was the drums. I didn't stick to that. Guitar, piano, and then it was just through my own self-discovery and desire to learn, because I was so inspired by music, whether it was music or lyrics, everything sort of if I found the right song, it was mine to keep. So that's where my sort of inspiration comes from. It's really just drawn from within, because I just didn't have that growing up when I was a kid. But I did take music classes in school. Luckily, they still offered music back then. But it was really my own deep-seated desire to learn how to play instruments and just write my feelings out. So that's my story.
Yeah, awesome. It's funny that you brought up the having music classes back then, because I remember when I went through grade school and all that stuff, it was like a requirement until we got to high school, and then it kind of became an elective. But from fourth grade all the way up to eighth grade, it was like, no, you got to take a music class, whether it's singing or music appreciation, whatever it was. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah, absolutely. So, how long has Stereo Joule been together?
This band's been together since 2017. Before that, we had a different band together with other musicians. And then before that, just either with other bands or as solo artists. But this band's been since 2017.
Okay. And Stereo Joule, you guys are based out of Miami Beach. I have to make that distinction because Miami Beach is not the same as Miami. What was the original idea for Stereo Joule versus what it ended up becoming?
Well, that's a big question.
I think our previous project that we were both in together, it was very straight. I want to say straightforward. 5-piece, 2 guitar players, bass player, drummer, and Chris on vocals, and it was straight up. Just kind of blues rock, alternative. I want to say a bit. And at some point, we went to see a concert with a band that we just let's go to a concert, and I saw the band that we saw made a big impact as far as sonically, right? And we just on the drive back from the concert, we were talking, and it was we were inspired by it, inspired to the point that we said, you know what, we're going to incorporate some of the stuff that we heard today from this artist, and we said to each other, let's incorporate synth. Let's incorporate backing tracks in our music. Let's incorporate a very and Chris was born and raised here in Miami, and she says, and we can incorporate 808s, which is a very Miami bass kind of thing. I'm like, and I couldn't wrap my head around it. And she's like, oh my God, you never listened to Miami bass music growing up? And I was like, no, I was listening always to rock. She's like, oh my God, we can incorporate the 808 sound into our songs, that affected, sound. And we went into the studio with some of the songs that, kind of morphed into what Stereo Joule is now. A lot of the songs we that more had a lot of heavy guitar, straightforward guitar the whole time on the songs were more, I had to, kind of recondition and play more for the song than just straight up, jamming. And we still jam. It's just the format that we have now, what's become Stereo Joule. It has a lot of electronica in it. We're not afraid of using technology, as far as like backing tracks in our music. So it's just become, our drummer uses, a real acoustic kit, and also uses, pads, triggers. And we're experimenting and have written really cool stuff that to us has been, wow, we had to relearn how to do things as far as a band and sonically, just to put that big sound out there when we perform. So, I think it's been a really cool journey to see where we were, let's say in 2017, 2016 to where we're at now as what Stereo Joule is.
We went into the studio, and we kind of were like, okay, let's see where this takes us, especially with the first EP. And we kind of learned a lot along the way and came up with stuff along the way, versus this last time we said, this is what we want to do. This is what we're going to do. We want this sound in there. We want it to sound this way. Here's what we're going to play. And this is what we'll do live. And this is what will just be on the studio recordings. But the learning, what we have learned after thinking we knew our instruments, we're like, okay, well, guess what? Computers are a new instrument. We're going to have to learn all of that. And it's been a lot of fun. We've had headaches because we've had headaches. It's been a little tough sometimes. Yeah. But, you know, we're really proud of what we put out and how we perform it. So it's been worth it. We've really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like the Stereo Joule is almost, I don't want to say, it's almost like a new creative outlet for you, where like in previous bands, it seems like you felt confined to the stereotypes of being a rock band or being a blues band or an alt rock band, like whatever genre it was defined by. But right. Now Stereo Joule is just kind of like your project, and it could be whatever you want it to be.
I mean, we get asked a lot, what genre is it? And we're always like, I kind of like, I don't want to sound like, oh, we're something, but like, I really feel like we're a little difficult to define because we're doing so many different things at the same time. And when we go into the studio ready to record, the first thing we talk about is, how does this fall into Stereo Joule?
Right.
Like looping it back into everything we've recorded so far. How do we stick to what we're saying Stereo Joule is versus here's something new we're going to record? No, it's very intentional how we write and how we record.
Yeah.
For sure. You know, it's one of those things where it all, like, I was having a conversation with my co-partner in Live and Amplified. We were having this conversation this past weekend because I went out to see him, and it was like the first time we'd seen each other in a year. And we were talking about how musicians are defining themselves, like, in the category of, like, what type of music. And I took the position of most musicians are taking the platform of, oh, we're not a genre. We're our own genre. We're Stereo Joule. And if it's a blues, you know, whatever, and he threw it back at me and said, well, there is a genre called alt rock, and that is like the umbrella term for a lot of it. And I'm like, I get what you're saying, but this idea of being confined to the term alt rock isn't necessarily, you know, that works for the Billboard charts and whatever else, but for independent musicians, they can't just all be alt rock musicians.
Yeah, you know? that's a really good point. I think every time that we submit stuff to aggregators, there's a list that comes out on a drop down menu that will ask subgenre, genre, and I'm like, okay, so. And you have to select a genre, I guess, for algorithm purposes and to put, you know, to finalize your order to the aggregator. But it's kind of you. I think I spend more time we spend a lot of time, I guess, we're in that section of those, like you said, you know, trying to define a genre and not to pigeonhole yourself into, you know, indie rock or shoegaze or anything. So, but at the end of the day, to me, it's we're playing rock music. I want to say.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I get that because it's kind of going back to that premise of, you know, when a lot of fans listening to a band say, oh, they've got a lot of Led Zeppelin in them, or a lot of, you know, name any other legendary rock band. They're not saying, oh, they're not defining them by the genre, they're defining them by the band. And I think a lot of musicians nowadays are taking that very literal, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like, we are who we are. We have our sound. And yes, we understand that underneath the umbrella of the music business, we have to fit into certain genres because that's the way it is. But at the end of the day, you know, we're Stereo Joule, and that's all that matters.
Yeah,
True.
So,
Thank you.
you get Stereo Joule's been together since 2017, so you've been playing together for about 5 years. Now, are you both from Miami Beach, or yeah?
So I'm born and raised in Miami Beach. Eddie's been in a lot of places.
Yeah, I've moved around quite a bit, but like home, Miami Beach is home, and then our drummer also resides in Miami Beach, and our bass player Lucha, he resides nearby in Miami also.
Okay.
And commonly, we're all Hispanic.
Yeah.
So, you know, Lucha's from Argentina. I know Josie's Central America. We're both Cuban parents. So you are influenced by default by a lot of the music in South Florida, especially the Latin of music. And again, I it's my roots. So wherever I can, I want to squeeze it in to the music somehow, so that at least hints there. I feel very true and authentic doing that. But yeah, we're all pretty much here for quite some time.
Awesome. And the current lineup of Stereo Joule, is that the original lineup, or has there been some changeovers over the years?
We've had some changes. And it's it's life's happening to all of us all the time. We had some we still have previous band members that come out to the shows, and it's funny because we've been at the show at one of the last shows. I think we've had 2 bass players, 3. I think maybe
This is our
third bass player, and all 3 of them were at the show. And our Lucha, our bass player. Obviously they had met before, and he says, "Oh my God," he's like, "All 3 bass players that have been in Stereo Joule are here at the show tonight." But yeah, it's this lineup that we have now. Yeah, it's the most consistent one that we have, and the one that we have all come together and sat down and written songs together and recorded together. With this current lineup. The previous lineups was wonderful and phenomenal to play with the professional musicians and friends that we had. But again, life is always happening to all of us. So, priorities change all the time. And this lineup we've had for a couple of years now, and
nice.
it's just rocking. We're happy with it, It's
nice.
cool.
And it survived the pandemic, it seems, right?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I still think that musicians in general are still recovering from the pandemic. You still don't see sort of the turnout that you used to see. That's been hard. It gave us an opportunity to go back into the studio as soon as the studio opened up. But I still think it's recovering. I really do. I think there are still people who are afraid to go out, and that's their prerogative, But yeah, it was a tough couple of years. It really was. Yeah.
I've definitely seen some really good local shows with decent turnouts. I can't really say whether they were great turnouts because the places that I was at, I don't know what they would consider like a good turnout. But just like going to a show that isn't headlined by like a national touring act or even a regional touring act, and it's still pulling in 200 people, like to me that seems like it's a really good turnout.
Part of what we've seen here is there are people moving away. We got a lot of people moving in, but a lot of people moving out too. And some of those people moving out are our people. So, but times change. We've had to ride those waves before. whether life happened to us and we needed to put things on pause for a little while or not. Life is always moving, and so are we.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Life happens, and sometimes you just have to deal with it. So kind of talking about the pandemic, I know it was specifically mentioned in your Spotify bio that as it is with a lot of musicians, that it kind of shut everything down for you all. Were you going into the pandemic, where were you kind of at creatively? Were you just, because I've kind of realized that a lot of musicians were in one of three phases. They were either getting ready to go into the studio, had just gone into the studio, or they have nothing. So where were you all kind of at going into the pandemic?
So we were already writing.
Yeah.
And we knew we were going into the studio soon because we'd recorded in 17 and started playing out heavily 18, 19. 20 came around and we had a bunch of shows booked, even outside of South Florida. So that was very disappointing. And I think for most people, we were all like anyone else, like, what's going on? How long is this going to last for? Initially said everything will be back to normal in August. And then like August was coming and we were like, this is so we knew we needed to just not sit idle.
Yeah. And like Chris mentioned, we were booked through the whole year. COVID happened, I think, in February or March?
March. Depending on where you were at.
Yeah.
But most consistently March.
We were booked through the whole year. Festivals all over, and all of a sudden it's like, shows. I mean, the last show we played, I think, was in March
4th. I just remember it.
It was a great show with our current bass player that we have with Lucha. Our previous drummer, which due to COVID, he relocated. He relocated because of COVID, and we were able to find a drummer right away and kept practicing. But it was a bit of a shock because we were like, okay, everything has to be put on hold now because we can't go to the studio. There's what's going to happen, and it's And like as we mentioned earlier, still, there's people that still don't want to go out. There's people that are a lot of venues, at least down here in South Florida, closed. And got back into the gist of things. Promoters were not the same promoters that we were dealing with. Management companies had, dissolved. Promoters had dissolved. So we were kind of starting again, So. Yeah, that's but we're happy where we're at right now. So that's
for sure.
Cool.
Just keep moving.
What was that last show that you played March 4th before the pandemic?
Las Rosas. So it was a place out here in Miami. It was a hot place. It was, and we had like the greatest show. It was our first show with the bassist we have now. It was our first live show with him, and it was just like a hot night. It was great. And we walked away from that show saying this was great. And so, okay, for the next show, we've got to plan. We've got to fix this. Like the catharsis that you have after a show. Like, hey, we messed up. We messed this up. We got to fix it. Can't happen again. That type of thing. And then we were all just kind of like, that show's like in a week. Is that really going to happen? Like they're shutting stuff down. And interestingly, that place just closed. Like it just didn't make it past it never recovered. Yeah. And it was a great spot here. Great stage, great sound, great people. But it's memorable. And I remember March 4th. Like I didn't forget it, that was the last show before the pandemic.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting that you bring that up because one of the last things we were supposed to do before the pandemic hit was we were supposed to travel to Tampa for the Gasparilla Music Festival.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And because I had done media for them for the 2 years prior, and they had invited us back for the third year.
Nice.
And a week before, or like the week of the event, I'm sitting here like, because I work in the news industry, so I was hearing things a lot quicker than it was being portrayed out into the media, and I was like, man, if things go really south, because like, I mean, you always heard rumors of, oh, they're going to shut us down, they're going to put us in lock, all this stuff. And I was like, man, I really don't want to be stuck in Tampa if flights start getting canceled or, whatever it is. And then I got to drive back home. It wouldn't have been that bad because my parents only lived like 2 hours away or 3 hours away, whatever it is, from Jensen Beach to Tampa there. But
40, yeah.
But it's still like I would have been stuck. And luckily the festival went off fine and nothing like really happened. But at like the last minute, I was like, yeah, I don't think we're going to make that trip because I just can't risk being stuck in Florida,
Right. Yeah, I mean, we had a number of shows, out of town shows booked that summer, and if the way promoting works, you don't book that in a week, right? That was months of work trying to get all of that set up. You've got the logistics to think about. You have all of that, and we're like, man, we just put we put a lot of effort into getting all of that booked, and like that's it. So when we talk about like having to start over after the pandemic, right? It's like getting that, in place again, not knowing that the places that you were reaching out to 2 years ago, are they still around? Are they not around? What's going on? And that's a lot of work. That's to put something together, to work for people, other venues, travel. It's a lot to put together, so we were very disappointed. Needless to say, we were very disappointed.
Oh, yeah. So during the obviously pandemic shuts down a lot of live shows, but you were still able to get a couple of singles out through 2020, 2021. Was that stuff that you had that had already been recorded, or did you find time during the pandemic to kind of get into studio? Because I know there was a couple of points where it's like, oh, things are lifting, we can go back to yeah.
Well, I think we released 1 or 2 singles.
We did Try and Don't Hold Me Back.
Don't Hold Me Back, and I think
so Try's a really old song.
Yeah.
That's a song I wrote, like, it feels like a million years ago. And I said to Eddie, I'm like, I've always wanted to record this song. I've never done it. And it was the same thing, right? It was how does it fit into Stereo Joule, right? That's how we went into the studio. Like, it's a great song. I love it. I've never recorded it for obvious reasons, right? It didn't fit any albums we've done. So I said to Eddie, I'm like, come on, like, let's try to record this song. And in the end, we were able to do it. And
it's so we released that song Try. And again, if you listen to our music and you listen to the first EP, and again, it was that process of okay, how do we fit this song, which is a bit out of our format, into how do we tie it to how do we Stereo Joule it, right? And we were able to do that at, no spoilers alerts. I want people to go out and listen to the song and enjoy it and take a little bit of a piece of Stereo Joule with them to wherever they have to take it. But it tied in together. Then Don't Hold Me Back we released also, and again, Don't Hold Me Back, it came as, I'll let Chris tell, because it's one of the, like, I'll write stuff and we'll put it together with the 2 other band members and with Chris. But Chris will go. We're always trying to push each other as artists, as musicians, and I'm always asking Chris, you play a synth, you get on the synth and you come up with really cool stuff. And I'm always telling her, just sit there and and experiment with stuff. So I don't know, I was walking around the house and I for hours she was just playing the same riff on the synth and just trying out
it was piano
on the piano, right? Actually, because we have a piano. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. That's really cool. And I know when in that creative process, as her being my partner, not to go and, by the way, this sounds great. Let's let me grab the guitar. I let the process has to happen. So anyway, that song, when that single we released, I think it was released in 2021. 21, right? It was just, we had the opportunity to go record it, and it was one of those songs that it already had the stereo Joule, tying into everything else with the ideas we had. And it's probably one of the fastest songs we recorded because we already have okay, where do we want to go with the song? So,
Yeah, that one was just a matter of, in all of our songs, there's an homage to something or like another artist. Like I kind of want to say what they are, and then I don't because I want to see if people could pick up on them. But that song in particular was meant to be super haunting in every way because it's about literally just being your own worst enemy. And I hope people can read into that when they hear the lyrics, but that's really what it's about. It's not about anyone but yourself. And I was in here for hours just trying to get the whole structure figured out and what have you. And then I was like, I came in, I'm like, I have it. Let's go to the studio. And we went into the studio. I would say Try was a lot easier, faster to record because that song had been written and structured a long time ago. But starting from scratch, Don't Hold Me Back, a song that I just wrote and started to sing, we went in there and we killed it pretty quickly.
Yeah,
it was it was pretty easy.
I remember our bass player Lucha. I said, hey, by the way, I need you to come and lay down the bass, and he's like, but I don't know the song. I'm like, but no,
he's like, I'm not ready. I have to play for you. And we're like, you're gonna be fine.
We were just so excited to record with him.
Yeah.
And just to have, because he's very, very creative, also very amazing bass player. And again, everything revolved around COVID. Do I have to wear a mask when I go to the studio? How are we going to record? Am I going to be in one room recording the bass?
Do you disinfect the mic? Is that a thing?
I mean, we have a good relationship with the studio, with the So, during COVID, I think we released those 2 songs, and we had to keep going,
Yeah. Oh yeah, because it was amazing how many bands just kind of called it quit. Or not so many musicians, but just more bands in general that just kind of called it quits going into the pandemic. And it's like, I mean, you just kind of find a way to do it, it doesn't, like we learned later on during the pandemic that it wasn't necessarily about the quality of the recording. It was the music. Like people wanted to hear the music. It didn't matter if it was one mic, like it's the 1940s and we're like, you got everybody sitting around one mic. It didn't matter. So,
and people had time, right? So we did find that there were a lot of people that had time to discover new music, which I think in an oversaturated market where it's so easy to put music out, whether it's singles, albums, EPs, whatever it is, it's oversaturated. You can stream just about anything. So, but people were wanting to do that. And I don't remember having seen that for at least a few years.
Absolutely. Before we jump into your most recent release, the EP, I do want to mention, I love the nickname Lucha. I'm assuming that's his nickname?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. That is amazing.
His name is Luis. His name is Luis.
Okay.
Luis is his name. But he
Okay.
goes by Lucha. I don't think I've ever asked him why. Do you know why?
No.
Oh, see, he should have been here.
I mean, my guess would be is he's a wrestling fan, maybe.
I feel
would
like
be-
I want to call him and ask him that question.
Yeah.
That would be my immediate guess, but you know,
Yeah,
I think we can have another podcast on just a segment for Lucha. On his,
okay.
He's got lots to say all the
yeah,
time.
he's got gets. Yeah, he's very entertaining.
He's very animated.
Yeah.
Awesome. So kind of jumping into the now with the release of Screaming for Laughter, which was released July 1st, right?
Yeah.
How long had this EP been in the works?
So we wanted to do single. We've never really been sure. Do we? We just release singles one at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Do we do an EP? But it's just fun to come up with artwork also and stuff. So I was like, I want to do an EP. Like, should we do an EP? And then we decided that we would, we had to release the singles just to have material out there.
Yeah.
We also don't. Again, like, we're very proud of what we put out. We don't record fillers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, everything's very intentional. So the stuff that we put out is really what we want to put out. And so we felt that going with, tying in the 2 songs to another 2 songs into one EP was probably what we wanted to do next. And then we just added the other 2 songs to have 2 new songs, but an EP. It's kind of tricky, the best way to go about that. So we try anything we can. And then we just decided we would do the EP and put that out.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, the way, whether intentionally or unintentionally, kind of the way you did it really helped set up the 2 new singles that were on it and helped revitalize the original. So for anybody that's listening or watching and hasn't had a chance to check out Screaming for Laughter, it's a 4-single EP that holds Don't Hold Me Back and Try, which was the 2 singles that we were talking about a little bit ago that you released during the pandemic, but then you also packaged it with 2 new singles to release to make it a full EP.
Yep.
And I really like that strategy in a world where it's like very single driven, and I get that philosophy because, especially during the pandemic, you're not playing a lot of shows. People want new music, and the only way to like consistently do it is just to release singles, unless you're just kind of some freak of nature that can release an album every month. And I've seen a couple people do it, but they burn themselves out after that 1 year where it's like, oh, I've released like every song I've ever written and now I don't have anything new. And I'm like, yeah, I can only imagine. So, but kind of going into it so the 2 singles that you added were Semblance and Cocoon. Did I say that? Yeah, I said that, right?
Semblance, yeah.
Yeah, Semblance and Cocoon. Were those new songs that you had written during the pandemic, or were they something a little bit older that kind of fit in with Try and Don't Hold Me Back? How did you kind of come to the conclusion to choose those 2 songs?
So, Cocoon, I don't know. I was listening to
Oh, I know who you were listening to.
I was listening to a a very popular hip hop artist, right? That incorporates guitar in his music and plays guitar also. And I had the 2 riffs, very simple 2 chords, and I could hear in what I wanted already. Again, tying it into a stereo Joule, because of the electronic factor and the backing tracks and stuff like that, and the electronic drums. I already had in my head what I wanted on the beat of the song, synths and cool like hip hop beats, and I tried it, did pre-production, and I was so excited. And I said, I was talking to Lucha, right? And I said, Lucha, I'm gonna send you Cocoon 2 versions. And I was so like experimenting with stuff. And I said, one of them has a trap beat to it.
Nice.
And we didn't go with a trap beat because I think we agreed, all of us as a band, that the trap beat would be maybe like in the I'll say this, it'll be maybe in the near future, a remix of Cocoon with a trap beat. But again, we were experimenting. So Cocoon, again, it was one of those songs that was very easy to write, and I think we did a lot of the pre-production here in our house. And again, Lucha came in with a really cool bass line on the chorus, very groovy, which it didn't match the trap beat, but we were able to just come out with a, it was a process of a really cool song. And then you start thinking, should I add this solo? Should I not add a guitar solo? So that was Cocoon. It's one of my favorite songs. It's a very, again, it ties into Stereo Joule with the sounds, the sequences, backing tracks.
And it's one of those songs that when you're recording it, you're almost thinking, do I love this song? And it, as we were recording, I was like, I don't know if I love this song. Even recording the vocals, I remember engineer Fernie, we love him. He was like, do you want to sing it that aggressively? And I was like, okay. And he's like, try whispering it. And I was like, and then it came, and it's one of my favorite songs now.
Yeah, it's a really cool
really
song.
is. I think he guided us properly on that to get the best, at least for me, to deliver the best vocal performance on it.
And again, that one was written very, very, very fast during the pandemic. And then Semblance, so
Semblance was just like, and we have our home studio, so it's very conducive to writing. Whether it, again, very intentional, the lighting, the mood in the room, and Semblance was just one of those days that I'm, running through the presets on the synth, and then I like this, but I don't like that, so I start to build my own thing, and it just, once I got that, it just like it was like this. It just came out, and I told Eddie, I'm like, you gotta hear this. Like, this is so awesome.
Yeah.
And it became more awesome in the studio. Yeah. And
it was tricky to write it. I mean, at least for me as a guitar player,
But I think it goes back to, changing the kind of band you are.
Yeah.
Where before, and it's not that some of our songs aren't guitar driven, because they still are, but Eddie sometimes steps back and has to let the other instruments and the other sounds, because it's not just guitar based.
More guitar.
Right. And so, and I mean, it's really like, I respect that about him, because it's kind of like, I gotta back off my instrument a little bit, but no, it's just changing the way that you're playing it.
At some point in the song, I said, I
just this pedal board this big.
I said, I brought all my gear into the studio, and I told the engineer, I said, I know the chord structures. I don't know what I'm gonna do on the song, and we were ready to record. I mean, again, I always approach the song and songwriting,
the guitar solos.
But it's more now. I jam it out, and then, but I really think about what we want to put out, right? And I don't approach the guitar as I did, 10 years ago. I approach guitar now as a tool, the same way I approach a computer to add sequences or backing tracks. So that one was a lot of fun, and I remember our engineer saying, this has probably been the best stereo Joule song we've tracked. And I'm
Nice.
like, really, man? Are you just? He's like, no. And he's really honest.
Yeah.
He was like, no, this has been like it's just like it's like the culmination of like everything that we've recorded here at the studio at the Shack, which is where we record our stuff. And again, did the guitars. Chris had already the whole song. Josie, our drummer, came in and did drums, did electric drums also. Lucha came in and did the bass. And as a matter of fact, we're actually rehearsing that song now we got like 7 or 8 shows scheduled toward the end of the year. And actually, Lucha said, I don't think I'm going to play bass in the song. I'm going to play the synth. I'm like, all right, let's do it. Because again, it's cool when you go see a band and all of a sudden you see the bass player playing synth, or the guitar player goes on on keyboards, or the vocalist goes on,
Sometimes I'm a very active performer, so I feel like playing an instrument while I'm singing doesn't let me do that. So, like, again, I wrote the song, but I don't want to be behind. And Lucha and I actually talked about it, where he was like, but do you really want to be behind the synth with this song? And I was like, yeah, you're right. I don't want to play the synth on this song live. And, there are some songs that, sure, I recorded them, but I don't want to play the instruments live.
Yeah.
I prefer to focus on the vocal performance and the energy of the show. And hey, if Lucha wants to play synth, I'm all for that.
Yeah.
I like when the musicians switch instruments. Like we do that, and I think it's cool. I like it.
Nice. Yeah, that definitely adds a reason for people to come check out a live show. You're going to hear music you're familiar with or music you enjoy, but it's not 100% the same way you heard it.
Yeah.
On album or Spotify, however they tend to consume music. So
right.
You brought up that you had a couple of shows, or you had some shows lined up for the end of the year, or going towards the end of the year. Is that you said 7 shows, right? Or am I just making up a number at this point?
I think we have about 6 or 7 shows from September through December. I think our last show is December 8th.
Okay. And is that like a heavy show load, or do you usually like to play more, like in a normal year where things are?
We've done we've had times where we've done like 2-3 shows a week.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it sometimes we'll do it because we want to play and we want to test out stuff. Especially now, we're testing out a couple of equipment and sound and just to get ready for next year also. But that can also affect your draw, because that definitely it's all about logistics and numbers and
we'll see them next time.
Yeah, it's they'll go see you for 3 times in a week, but maybe not next month or the week after that. But it affects your draw. We always take that into consideration. Yeah.
Depending on where you're playing, right? So we usually cover the Tri-County area. Down here, we're really looking to move out of that as much as possible, which is where we were in 2020. But, we are where we are now. And, we're looking at things more like quality versus quantity as well, because we are using more equipment than we used to that is better for our sound.
Yeah. And visuals too.
We've got visuals that we run with light shows. Yeah. But the
Videos.
Other thing is that, and this is not to say anything about any particular venues, but we are doing a lot of things during a performance that we really need to go to venues that could support that. Because you're running sequences, but the sound equipment isn't great. And, it affects the performance, and so we always want to put out the best performance. And the equipment at a venue is very important as well. So we've had a few moments where that we wish would have been different, right? Because the sound reinforcements weren't there. And again, this outfit that we have with Stereo Joule is different from what we've done in the past. So like anything, you go learning as you go about what's ideal for us and what isn't, because we always want to put on the best show possible.
Yeah.
I like the way you kind of dance around saying the fact that the venue did not have the best sound system.
Because if it had been another band we had been in, it would have looked fine.
Yeah.
But when you've got these sequences and these 808s, like I call them Hiroshimas, right? Because they're these just boom, And I love that about our sound. But when it doesn't come out right through monitors, you're like, ooh.
And as a band, we always rehearse through a set without sequences, without backing tracks. And with them in case bleep hits the fan. Because we've been in those situations where we've gone somewhere and we've learned we want to play everywhere in South Florida and everywhere in the U.S. and everywhere, and then we go to places that, oh wow, this
you can't deliver there.
We can't, and we're all right. We'll do it that's what we rehearse for. We prepare for. But we're looking forward to. We got some really cool shows coming up, and the weather's going to be nice.
Yep. Just got to make it through hurricane season.
Yeah, that's nothing. Yeah.
That is
You're
true.
in the Midwest, right?
I'm from Chicago, but I lived in Tallahassee for about 2 years. I was actually there when Hurricane Michael came through.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so I was like, I've been through it. So my parents have lived there since 2010.
Okay.
So they've gone through they went through Irma and a lot of the more recent big ones.
And it seems an island.
They actually live inland on mainland because they've got the inlet, and then they've got it's, I guess, technically an island, which would be Hutchinson Beach and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's an island.
So what's interesting is anytime I moved to Tallahassee 2 weeks after Hurricane Irma had just come through. I left where my parents live after what was the big storm in 2012 that came ripping across Florida? Was that Hurricane Sandy or?
No, Sandy didn't come through Florida. There was Maria. There was Irma.
It was Maria. That's because it was later on in the year, and I left 12 hours before it hit land, and I'm like,
wow.
Yeah, that was probably a good call.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to be able to say Hurricane Michael is the only hurricane I've ever been through, I'll keep my hat on that.
Knock on wood. Yeah. We hurt us a lot, so I'm gonna put that out in the universe and then take it back because I don't want hurricanes. But we've been through so many already that I'm assuming it's snowstorms up north. Everybody's got something, so we just happen to have hurricanes.
Yeah, we get tornadoes every April, May. Tornadoes are the absolute worst around here, and it's just something we live with. So, so kind of moving forward with Stereo Joule, what's the plan kind of moving forward? Are you working on new music now, or are you just kind of focused on gigs? Where are you kind of at right now?
So what's really, thank you for that question. We're really excited because, for a long time, we would write, record, and then we'd go out and perform. And I think one of the missing links for us, there's always a missing link in everything, right? But at least for a period of time there, it was that a lot of the songwriting was kind of on Eddie and me. right now with Lucha and Josie in the band, they're making contributions, which are great, because the more ideas, the better. And we have to work through things, which is great because now you've got 4 people who have to compromise on a song. And just a couple of weeks ago, Josie came in with stuff, and he's the drummer. So, he's got his stuff that he's always toying with, and that's exciting. Because in the end, we're all doing the same thing and trying to tie it into stereo Joule it, right? And we're all thinking that way, and we're always working on things separately. Technology is great because you could just kind of like email each other stuff or airdrop it or what have you. So that's really cool, is to be able to listen to each other's ideas, piece them together sometimes, because that's what happens. And I have so many lyrics that I've written my entire life, and I'm like, I know I have these lyrics from like 2012. Let me go look for them because they would fit this song. So it's really cool that we get to keep writing, and now with other people who in spirit are just like there with us.
Yeah. And that's important because when you have people, that you work with that, are excited to write and excited to perform, that makes a difference, and it's cool to have that. We have now with Lucha and Josie, because like Chris said, Josie will send an idea, and then Lucha will be like, oh, that's very stereo Joule, and then Chris is like, oh, I already have lyrics for it. So it's really cool to have that excitement going on. We're excited to play the shows that we have. I think we're working with a management company, and I think they're in the process of trying to route some dates on the East Coast, but again, it's a working process. It's a working process with promoters, booking events and stuff like that. So we're excited, to have shows. We're excited to be writing, rehearsing.
Yeah, for sure. That's, and you booking out shows out of the area of South Florida. Obviously, you want to, what we talked about just a little bit ago, making sure the venues can handle everything and you don't have to compromise your set. That is the extra thing on top. That's like
and I don't ever remember caring as much about that before, because you could just manage, right, when you're just a 4 or 5 piece band. But it is important now. It is. It would affect the shows we're trying to deliver, and it's who we are. So, not being snobby, just it's kind of, do you want to drive from Florida, to Seattle in a car that's 30 years old, or do you want something that's actually going to get you there? That's how I view it, and it just depends. It just
like my buddy Jeff, my partner in all this, his band, they just went out on tour for the first time, and it was 5 of them in a F-250, just kind of huddled in there. But because they were able to, because they had planned for it, they did enough shows. Like I shouldn't say did enough shows. They did the right shows there was enough money involved that they were able to save up, make sure each night, no matter what, they had a place to stay, whether it was a hotel or Airbnb, whatever it was. And they came back and they made money. They still made money.
Yeah.
And so it was just like, it was an interesting situation because it's like they knew going in they were going to lose X amount of money, but still being able to come back and make money. It's just finding the right places and
I mean, everything needs to work out. The logistics, the pay, how are you getting there, ground, air? It's not always, when you're a smaller band, it's not always sexiest accommodations when you're touring outside of your area, but you do it because you love it. You do it because you love it.
I still like want to try and sit down with some of these DIY bands that go out on like 6-9 month tours, and that's just what they do. They go out, they tour, they come home for 3-4 months,
Right.
restock, rewrite, re-record, record their next album, and then they're on the road again.
Yeah.
And they're all in like the Sprinter vans, and it's just like 2 or 3 of them to keep it kind of concise. But yeah, I don't know how they do that. That would just be a lot for me. But then again, I'm not a musician, so what do I know?
I mean, it's when you love it, you love it. I don't know how to put it. It's you. I mean, sure, of course, you don't want to sleep on the streets, but I mean, you do what you got to do because you love it and you want to put your music out there and you love to perform and you love to meet people and talk to people and get to know people, and those experiences bring great writing material too. So I think sometimes I get asked about my lyrics and I'm like, well, they're not all like autobiographical, right? Like they're not about me for the most part, but it's you meet people and you hear stories and you make friends along the way and you have material for the next time. That's kind of the cycle, at least for me. So,
I mean, I guess it's no different than early on when before the pandemic for Live and Amplified, we would pick up at 7 p.m. saying, okay, well, we got to be in Salt Lake City, Utah from Roswell, New Mexico by 11 a.m. the next morning. And we just drive through the night, record all day. And it's like, okay, where's the next,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's commendable, really.
Cool.
It's no different.
Well, because I've actually been told that I'm not allowed to plan our trips anymore because I'm that psychopath that, there's 3 of us in the car. We'll take 4-hour rotating shifts, not thinking because for me, I'll sleep in the car. I don't mind. Like I sleep like a baby in the car, especially with the 2 people that I have. I trust them as drivers. I know nothing bad's going to happen. So I could sleep like a baby in the car. The other 2, not so much. They don't necessarily like sleep. And so I tend to forget that. So it's like, well, we don't need to stay in a hotel. We'll just sleep in the car and we'll just get to the next place. So that way our 7-day vacation or our 7-day trip, it's like actually 7 days instead of, it was only like 3 because we had to put in so many travel,
Yeah.
But
it's a lot to piece together. It really is. You have to plan things out, but I'm one girl and there are 3 guys, and I have to put up with some stuff, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so I don't want to keep y'all too much longer because I know it's the Eastern time zone for y'all, so it's a little bit later than it is here. Kind of outside of music though, like just as people, what do you do to escape? What are some of your hobbies? What do you do in South Florida there?
So I love to go for jogs with my little baby shepherd Romy. She's a great jogging partner. My little Belgian Tervuren. She's amazing. That's what I like to do for fun. I do that a few times a week. I love to paddleboard. Of course, I have to do things on the water. That's why we live on Miami Beach. But go to the beach. We go to the beach a lot, and I'm pretty outdoorsy, so I just like doing stuff outside.
Yeah, I just ride my motorcycle. It gives me. It's just one of the things that I like to do the most because it gives me clarity, and fortunately, Chris likes to go and on motorcycle rides with me, but sometimes it gives me clarity. I have to I'll get home from work and it's either I'll sit down and play guitar and play with my pedals and stuff. And
outside of music.
Oh, outside of music. See, everything is music.
Hey, that's all right.
I'm a psychopath with music, so
it's all good.
I think I think a lot of the stuff outdoors. Just go to the. I like going to the beach a lot. Again, it just gives me peace and going outside and just going in the water. It's peaceful. It gives me again Same thing as riding a motorcycle. It gives me clarity and makes me happy. It's a smile on my face.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, before we wrap this up, we have a fun little game that we play with everyone, and I'll try to make it a little bit more concise tonight, but we have a game called Rapid Fire Randomness. And what I'm going to do is I have a random question generator sitting on my phone here, and I'm going to fire off 5 random questions that I just want you all to answer as quickly as you can.
All right.
What is a movie that you have seen the most?
Goodfellas, probably.
Oh, Goodfellas, yeah.
What's your favorite childhood snack?
Cheese puffs.
Cheese puffs.
Cheese puffs. Cheese puffs. The wise ones, by the way.
Okay.
Childhood snack.
Wise is good. I enjoy the Wise.
I like them better than Cheetos. Mm.
Combos?
Yep. Okay. Nice. Nice. If you were an alien, what planet would you be from?
Venus. Is Venus a planet?
Yeah.
Saturn.
I think so. Yeah. Okay.
Because of the rings.
What stuck out about to the person next to you, obviously each other, what was the first thing that you noticed about each other?
His confidence.
Oh, wow. From you? How beautiful you are.
Oh.
Nice. When you're traveling, do you tend to overpack or pack lightly?
Pack lightly.
Pack lightly. I think as a musician, you learn to do that.
Yeah. Compartmentalizing, right?
Compartmentalize.
Nice.
Yeah, always.
Someone challenges you to scream one word at the top of your lungs. What's the word?
It's an F-bomb, for sure. F-bomb.
Coño.
Coño.
What is one thing you wish you knew about school before you went?
That it'd be so expensive.
Fair. Very fair.
Yeah.
Gonna go with that, or
I'm going to go online learning. I wish it would have been available.
yeah, fair, very fair. So that was rapid fire randomness.
Okay.
So,
How do we do that? How do we do?
really well. You're a lot more rapid than some musicians. Some musicians just put way too much thought into the things they say. And it's like, no, it's not
It's
meant to
rapid.
be any. It's rapid and it's random. There's not much thought that needs to go into this. But for anybody that wants to check out your music or get in touch with you on social, follow what you got going on, where's the best place for them to do that?
So Instagram's really well, we're the most active on, and we keep it updated with shows, with recordings. Sometimes it's a little vacant. That's on purpose. We have nothing to share. And why dilute the good stuff with nonsense? That's how we see it. And then, you could stream our music anywhere. Our music videos are on YouTube.
And check out our videos too. We had some really cool videos that we filmed. We have for one of their songs called Better Days, which is on the first EP. Really cool song, really fun song. Was filmed out here in Miami Beach. And then we have a couple of lyric videos, but 2 film videos. We have for Don't Hold Me Back for the single. We have a video for that song, which is a lot of fun to record, also to film. I'm sorry.
Yeah. We didn't talk about that one, but that one's got a music video that we filmed shortly after the song was released.
Yeah.
Nice, awesome. Well, next time you come back on, we'll talk about the music video, and we'll hopefully talk about all kinds of new music that you have and all that fun stuff. So
this has been fun. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for coming in very last minute. I really appreciate it. I was in a little bit of a bind, and I'm like, I have to find somebody. I have 24 hours. Why did I why did I not try to fill this sooner? But I appreciate y'all for coming on. It's been an absolute blast. And you're welcome back on anytime. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we will catch you all later.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Cool.